Welcome to the latest edition of Beyond the Arc. I'm John Gonzalez alongside our NBA insider, Bill Ryder. Bill, did you do a bracket? How's it looking? Is it busted?
I didn't. I did not. Are you still into brackets?
No.
I don't know. Me either.
You know what? I've watched more of the tournament this season than I have for many years. I've enjoyed it immensely, including.
Have you?
Yeah, I have. You were saying like that it's a different product than it is, but it made me laugh because I forgot which team it was, but there was a kid who got the ball in the post and like dribble, and it was like a hook shot from almost the foul line that like hit the rim, and I was like, oh man, I haven't seen one of those shots in forever. Like how like completely inefficient it was, but yeah, no, I've enjoyed it. It's been fun.
It's like the Elite Eight was 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-3. It was the least number of upsets in whatever decades in the first round. I used to cover college basketball a lot.
Yeah,
I hated it. I hated it.
so
I
no
did.
bracket for you. Well, the reason why I brought this up
No.
is I was talking to a friend over the weekend about he believes that you should only ever do one bracket. And I was like, if I was going to fill one out, I would fill out multiple permutations because that's part of the fun. And he thinks that there's like a sanctity to the bracket.
Oh, my brother has this debate with me all the time. And my thing is, I'm gonna fill out as many damn brackets as I want to, which turns out to be zero. Yeah, but do all the brackets. Do
all the brackets. All right, be sure to check out our Eye on College Basketball podcast if you want more tournament talk. And later on this week, we might even do a little NBA draft preview with the tournament up and running. So be on the lookout for that. Later on in today's show, we'll do a little weekend radar and team of the night. But first, Bill, the Grizzlies fired Taylor Jenkins. You and I were not on that show on Friday. It came in late breaking news, but you wrote a column about it for CBSSports.com. Everybody should go and check that out. He's the winningest coach in franchise history, low bar, but still just the second team ever to replace a coach after 70 games when they have a winning record. Kind of wild. I have a whole bunch of things that I want to get into here, Bill, but first, GM Zach Kleiman talked about why he made this move. He told reporters about it over the weekend. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I'm focused on how we operate. I'm responsible for everything. I'm responsible for coaching. I'm responsible for the roster. I'm trying to absolve myself of anything. I'm excited to see what this team can do the rest of the way, but this is the conclusion that I came to, that this is in the best interest of the team, and we push forward with this group.
Bill, they tried to press him on details with this and be like, okay, well, what led you to this conclusion? Like, what was the set of data points, or what did you see that you didn't like, or whatever? He wouldn't go there. He wouldn't answer it. All he said was that urgency is a core principle. I'm kind of blown away by this.
It's all bizarre. So not a secret at all that there was some tension between the front office and Jenkins. I mean, they made him in the offseason replace all of his assistant coaches. He basically didn't get to pick his own staff. So there was this, and they made him change the offense, right? So much more motion heavy offense, which coincidentally has worked. That's the other thing about this, is they made him change his approach offensively, and they have a top, I don't know, what is 6 offense right now in the NBA, certainly a top 10. But I'm with you. It's one thing to know there's some tensions and sort of to know that there's some pressure on the head coach who's been great. And also, last year, the guy was about to make the playoffs in 4 out of his what would have been 6 years. Year 1, he didn't make the playoffs, right? Trying to start over. And then last year, when every single person on the team was hurt, they basically fielded a G League team. I don't know, man. Like I know it's in the column. I don't know what happened. I had one GM say that I thought was interesting. Never heard this expression either. That if you have the problem with sometimes when you have a come to Jesus conversation, you get crucified, was the sort of risque quote the guy gave me. And that's, maybe that's it. Maybe that's the urgency. Maybe it was just personality conflict came to a head, and I don't care how many games are left, you're fired.
Yeah, I mean, if you've decided that Taylor Jenkins is not going to be your guy moving forward, okay. I just find it curious that you're going to do it right before the playoffs when you're a playoff team and you're a winning record. And by the way, Ja hasn't been around for a huge chunk of the season, and yet you're still in the Western Conference mix. And yeah, he didn't get to implement this motion offense, but the guy that did implement the motion offense that brought it over from the D3 school is out the door along with Taylor Jenkins. So I don't know, maybe the new coach, Tomas Asalo, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. I believe that I am, is going to implement like more pick and roll with Ja, because here's the other thing, like Ja does a lot of things well, but I would expect that you'd want to get him downhill more in more pick and roll, because in this motion offense, like they didn't they didn't shoot a ton of threes, unlike the rest of the NBA, but that's not Ja's strong suit anyway. So a bunch of player reactions from this, Bill. Ja said it's tough. Taylor Jenkins is the only coach he's ever had. It's really his first time experiencing something like this. Triple J said, that's my dog. That will forever be my dog. And it was surprising. Initially, I thought, okay, well, maybe Ja or Jaren Jackson don't like Taylor Jenkins. And both of them were like, we love this dude. And then Desmond Bane said that they had a team meeting where they let everything they aired everything out, and that Desmond Bane urged everybody to get behind Tomas because he's a smart guy, and just like, let's all like rally together. Bill, do you think that this is one of those situations that is so shocking that it does kind of unify the team?
I don't know.
Or could it go the other way?
I mean, yeah, yes, to all the above. And I want to just add to your point. This is a team that didn't have Ja Morant for, I think, 30 games this year.
Yeah, 30 games.
And just 16 and 14 when he's not around. But when he played, there were 28 and 16 or whatever. I think that's right. I think it's 28 and 16. So, like, that's the other, like, I know you and I have had this conversation a lot. And Memphis is sort of my Western Conference Pacers, where I have more belief in them, and maybe hope is the better term than most people. But every metric that you can sort of look at gives Memphis the opportunity to be good enough to make the finals if it's not for the Thunder, right? If you sort of, and so if you're on the other side of that bracket when we get to the playoffs, there's a lot of, I think there are 6 teams outside of the Thunder who can make the conference finals if they don't go through Oklahoma City. So there's a lot of them, but Memphis is one of them. And so it's so bizarre that they wouldn't let a guy that seems to be beloved by the key players see it through. I don't know. It seems like it's classic personality conflict. I'm the boss and you're not decision-making.
It feels like there's something else here that will be reported down the line or uncovered, where we'll find out, that maybe there was some sort of, butting of heads between Jenkins and Kleiman. I just find it curious because, to the metric point about how the Grizzlies have played, they're in 5th place right now. They're a game behind the Lakers, who they lost to over the weekend. But Bill, they have the 2nd best point differential in the Western Conference, and a stacked Western Conference, again, in a season when Ja hasn't been out there for a large chunk of it. I would have just thought, okay, this would be so disruptive to do right before the playoffs with fewer than 10 games left before the postseason, that it's better to just let this thing ride out, and then we'll make the change during the offseason, as opposed to, we're going to rip this thing up from the roots right before the postseason. We're going to get a ton of heat on us for doing it because, again, just the 2nd team in NBA history to fire a coach this late in the season with a winning record. Everybody's going to ask why. And, oh, by the way, I'm not going to have any answers on that. I'm just going to stonewall. That's something, by the way, that sort of drives me nuts, because there have been a whole lot of general managers in the NBA of recent vintage, Bill, and you know this as well as anybody that's our NBA insider, who they'll talk to you like on background or off the record, but they very rarely want to get in front of the camera. This is one of those situations where you got to get in front of the camera because he did this, but he didn't have any answers.
No, it's why it doesn't feel like a well thought out plan. I am in agreement with you that my sort of overall reaction is just being stupefied. I'm just sort of in shock. I will give you a stat that people have floated in defense of this decision-making that I myself do not entirely buy. But It is worth noting that this is a Memphis team that has beaten only a single winning basketball team since February 3rd. That winning team was the Dallas Mavericks, not just without Luka because he's been traded, not just without AD because he was out. They were missing 7 of their players from that roster. And so if you withdraw that Mavericks team as a team that counts, and we should, they haven't beaten a real team in a really long time. And so it sounds like, and I don't know, but just talking to people, the speculation is that on the sort of macro, things look good. We're discussing all the positives. The history of Jenkins is impressive. Feels like he's earned more. Guys seem to like him. But on the micro, right, maybe from the GM's perspective, we haven't played well lately. They were on a bit of a skid, right? I think when he got fired, they had only won 2 of 9 games at the time or something like that. So maybe that facilitated just a disagreement. Jenkins saw it the positive way we see it. Front office saw it the sort of way that I'm describing it as a sort of underwhelming reality heading into April, and the bleep hit the fan.
This is a little bit of danger zone for them now, Bill, because I mentioned that they're only a game back of the Lakers for 4th, but as we know, in the Western Conference, everybody's bunched up 2 through 7, really. The Grizz are just 1 game up on the Warriors. So they're really in danger of potentially slipping out of the playoffs proper into the play-in.
Right.
They play the Celtics tonight, and then they've got the Golden State Warriors tomorrow. And as I mentioned, they're just a game up on the Warriors. So, there's a scenario here where over the next 2 days, they're not in the top 5 or 6 in the Western Conference. And then all of a sudden you're fighting for your life to get out of the play-in.
And they close their third to last game, I think, is the Timberwolves, and their second last game is Denver. So, there's a Timberwolves game left too you're right. Oh my God. So the main thing that I wrote, and I think is the main takeaway, is we don't have all the details, and the GM, he said it. It's his decision-making. He's going to be assessed really quickly on how this works. And I guess there's a world where Memphis makes a run, and there's also a world where they don't make the playoffs, and that'll be tough to answer for.
Wow. Yeah, if they crash out of the playoffs proper into the play-in and don't get out of the play-in, that would, yes, absolutely. That's the kind of decision that could end up getting you fired, where all of a sudden you go from
get you fired.
Being a general manager who, if you had said a week ago, what are some of the best run organizations in the NBA? Who identifies players that other organizations don't hit on? Who's well run? Who's stable? You would have put the Grizz in that pack, wouldn't you? They have been consistently an organization that has known for doing more with less.
Here's the other thing that you've already said this, but I'll say it again. It's also true that this coach didn't have John Morant last year and has missed him for 30 games this year.
Yeah.
And has still done pretty well. So it's just
still done really well.
It doesn't add up.
Yeah, it doesn't. And man, this schedule to finish out. So we said Boston tonight, the Warriors tomorrow. Then they've got the Heat and the Pistons. Then they've got the Hornets, Minnesota, the Nugs, Dallas is how they finish.
Wow.
Yeah, not an easy outside of Charlotte. That's not an easy schedule for the Grizz. So we'll see what happens with them. And man, that game tomorrow night against the Warriors is a big one for them. Quick break, and then on the other side, we'll check in with another Western Conference team, the Phoenix Suns. They had been on a heater. Now they're on a losing streak. Plus, they might have lost Kevin Durant, rolled an ankle last night. We'll discuss that on the other side. This is Beyond the Arc.
She knows, and I know she knows.
All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. A reminder, you can get us wherever you get your favorite podcast. Please download, subscribe, leave a review, tell your friends. If you're listening on Spotify, if you look below the play button on the Spotify app in full screen mode, you can leave us a comment about the show. The Suns, Bill, they had won 4 in a row. Bud was talking about the vibes. KD was talking about the vibes. Booker was talking about the vibes. Now they've lost 3 in a row, including last night. They got smashed by the Houston Rockets. And on top of it, KD rolled his ankle in the third quarter. I didn't know that this was happening because I had other things going on last night. Producer Aaron put it in our text chat about, is this the last we saw of KD in Phoenix? We'll see what happens on the imaging on his ankle and whether or not he returns. But Bill, they're a game and a half back of Sacramento for that final spot in the play-in for 10. There's a world here where if he misses a couple games, the play-in might be out of reach, at which point, why even bring him back? At which point, did we just see the end of KD in Phoenix?
Feels like a maybe. Look, you never know how a guy healed. It looked bad. It looked, and
I missed it in real time. I watched it afterwards because you guys alerted me to it. It did not look good. And we've seen a rash of ankle injuries as the season wraps up, regular season wraps up. This looked like one of those where, when Triple J got hurt, when Jalen Brunson got hurt, on those ankle injuries where you want, ooh, that's not great. It could be a second here. Neither of us are doctors, but yeah, it didn't look good.
There's a fragility to Kevin Durant that's real. There is sort of a history of him being hurt, and he's an older guy. So yes, I'm not questioning his competitive spirit, but also if you're Durant and you're not well, and we'll see, and your ankle's not great, are you really going to jeopardize it and risk it and push through so that you can maybe make the play-in with the Phoenix Suns when that you're probably leaving? Not that he won't play if he can't, but there's no incentive here for him to just give it a go. This isn't the NBA Conference Finals, right? So yeah, I think we may very well have seen his last stint with the Suns, which what an appropriate, awful, crazy way for this part of his career to come to an end with this team.
Yeah, it was bad enough that he couldn't shoot the free throws, which is why even if he could have stayed in the game or come back in the game later on, because he couldn't shoot the free throws, it took him out of the game. He was disqualified from playing in the rest of the game the rest of the way. but now they're a game and a half back of the Kings. I was skeptical about the Suns making the play-in anyway. Matt Ishbia was one of the few people who was like, hold on, just wait a minute, wait until we get into the play-in, and then all of a sudden nobody's going to want to play us. Well, guess what? It's not looking good for you to even make the play-in because that strength of the schedule for the rest of the way is really difficult. I believe last time I checked, they had the hardest strength of schedule the rest of the way. It looks like probably the Kings. Do you give the Suns any shot to make it without KD? Got to have KD,
yeah,
right?
I mean, the same shot I gave them all year, which is you have some talented
Very
players.
little.
Can it work? Yeah, it doesn't work. So probably not, but we're not talking about can you battle your way into the 2 spot, right? I mean, these are bad. We are talking about bad basketball teams trying to scrap their way to this sort of last flimsy, meaningless hope to be relevant in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So sure.
Still,
I mean, that probably they can be the 10 if things really bounce well, but I doubt it, and I don't think it matters.
Still the hardest strength of schedule for the Suns. So it's going to be an uphill battle. Then you've got the Mavs and the Kings and the 9 and the 10. There's a massive gap between 8 and 9. So it's basically the Mavs and the Kings jockeying for position there. We're going to do a playoff preview coming up, a play-in preview. But just while we're discussing it now, the Kings are ostensibly healthy, and they've got the Mavs with, the bigs for the Mavs are now getting healthy. Now all of a sudden Gafford and AD is already back, and Lively looks like he's set to return too. If you're the Kings, shouldn't you, despite the fact that, the Mavs have had some injury issues and now they're just getting healthy, shouldn't you be better than the Mavs right now? I mean, shouldn't you have designs on getting out of that 9-10 game?
Yeah, but yes, 100%. And the Mavs won a couple right in a row. But also, if you're the Kings, when you trade De'Aaron Fox, you should get something in return that makes you okay. And they've been garbage. I mean, they've been awful.
Yeah, they have been.
Dallas is a beat up basketball team and a demoralized team. I think the Kings are just a bad basketball team at this point. If
that ends up as the 9-10 matchup, which way are you going?
Oh God. To the bar to watch something else? No, I'm required to watch it.
You and I will be watching.
That's a great question.
It's rough. That's a rough pick.
I think my first thought is Dallas. My first thought is, they
I guess
made a final.
AD is back, and you're
right.
You're hoping that he plays up to his level. But
they can play defense, right? They can play D. And
I want to run something else past you while we're in the West. So LeBron, your guy LeBron, went on was with Pat McAfee last week and had a whole.
Oh my God!
I talked about this with Sam Quinn last week, but I wanted to take your temperature on it because one of the things that he said was, he was being hyperbolic, but I don't think that he was being like super crazy about it. But he had a whole bunch of things to say about he doesn't have a relationship with MJ. He hopes to have one down the line. He talked about Luka getting traded. He was very proud of Bronny as a father. And by the way, before we even get into the actual thing that I wanted to talk to you about here, are you buying any of this like Bronny late season development, like showing a little bit?
I'd like to. I'd like to believe it. I mean, I think I wrote this. It's been a year now almost that I really am rooting for the dude. The answer is, I am not convinced he's going to be a star, but it's nice to see him play well. It's nice to see him play well consistently in the G League. I hope so.
I hope so too.
That's my answer.
All right. So one of the other things that LeBron said on Pat McAfee that got a lot of attention was he said, look, forget about what Giannis is doing now. Just imagine what would happen if he played in the 70s. And he has some thoughts on that.
You trying to tell me Giannis wouldn't be able to play an NBA game in the 70s?
Hint, he wouldn't be able to do it.
Neither would you.
Giannis Antetokounmpo would have 250 points in a game in the 70s. 250.
Is that Kuzi? When was Kuzi playing?
Kuzi's 50s.
Dude, Kuzi's locking up fucking Giannis, brother.
He's saying 70s, not 50s.
And that's no disrespect. It's no disrespect. But, seriously, Kyrie Irving.
They would have called him a witch. They would have called him a witch.
No. They would have told Kyrie, you're not. You know how they used to tell Lou Alcindor at the time that he couldn't dunk in high school games? Yeah. They would have told Kyrie, you're not allowed to dribble anymore.
All right, so no disrespect, Bill, but he would have had 250 points. Giannis heard about this. He said it's a great compliment, but he said it's not fair to compare eras. Is it fair to compare eras, Bill?
Well, I think we need the right context here because LeBron was just lying. Look, I don't know if you and Sam brought this up. I didn't listen to your podcast, the podcast on Friday. let's talk about Brian Winters. Who, by the way, I went to Brian's wedding, so I'm not an unbiased person here. But I think the proper context, John, here is that LeBron was criticizing media members. Fine. Then he said, and I mean, my jaw hit the floor. LeBron said, this guy, Brian Winters, name-checked Winters, is going around telling people he's my best friend. Brian Winters is, I mean, not that I've been to every conversation that he's ever had. I mean, that's a lie. And Brian is very, very clear that he's not friends with LeBron, that's not that kind of relationship, that he owes LeBron because he got to cover him. So everything LeBron said in that interview, I saw is he's full of it. Like, if you're going to lie about people and their character, I'm not going to take anything seriously you say about Giannis in the 70s. And by the way, and I don't think LeBron means anything he said. And by the way, who is out there saying that Giannis Antetokounmpo couldn't play in the 70s? Where'd this made-up controversy? Did I miss? That's a made-up controversy. No one's ever – the only thing that's been said that LeBron is pissed off about is that Bronny's not good enough to play in the NBA. And we all hope we're wrong on that. But so to answer your question, no, I'm sure Giannis could play in the 70s. Of course he could play in the 70s. I just don't think LeBron means it, because LeBron was lying about actually important things in people's character in that same interview.
Yeah, Wendy was asked about it. He was on, I believe, ESPN Radio in Cleveland, and he took the high road, not surprisingly, because he's that kind of guy. And he said, look, LeBron is entitled to his opinion, and he doesn't owe me anything. Wendy's a great dude, and he's a real professional. So it was kind of a bummer to see him catching strays on that. But the 250-point thing was like so hyperbolic and over the top.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Now, would Giannis score, I don't know, like 70 points more often? Or have a bunch of 60-point games? Yeah, maybe. I mean, but this 250 points. So, dude, as you know, like, unlike most people, I actually covered LeBron day to day for years. Like, was around him every day in the locker room, every single day. And he gets in these sort of, like we all do, these sort of bad, toxic spaces, and he just goes to sort of a very, I like LeBron, but a very sort of goofy place. This is the first time that and I'm not around him every day, but that it has been enough of this sort of his frustration or whatever it is, right? That it's bubbled up to where we're all seeing it. That I just can't take anything he says seriously when he gets in this mood. I just can't.
When Giannis was talking about this, he said, look, if you took me and put me in the 70s, I would probably play basketball just like everybody else played in the 70s. We've since evolved. We've changed how we play. We changed our approach. We changed our physical being and how, like, what we put into our bodies and how we approach the game and train and stuff. So he was saying, like, I probably would have been just like everybody else in the 70s, whereas producer Aaron believes he would average 100 in the 70s. I think if you took current Giannis and put him in the 70s, that's probably the truth.
Can I also just add that I've had this conversation with LeBron. LeBron has talked about how much he respects Wilt Chamberlain and how much he respects the guys from that era. You can't say that Giannis would average 100 points a game and score 250 and then turn around and say, like, those guys were amazing. Because if the game was such garbage then, why wasn't Wilt averaging 100 points a game? Why didn't Wilt score two? So it's like, I know LeBron doesn't mean what he's saying, but what about Wilt? Like, so that mean Wilt Chamberlain sucks? Does that mean Wilt today would score 11 points a game?
Yeah, but Bill, you missed the part where he said no disrespect, right? He said,
sorry.
He added no disrespect. So no disrespect from LeBron. All right, another quick break. And then on the other side, we'll do Weekend Radar. That's coming up. This is Beyond the Arc.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale. Wonderful goal.
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
To Beyond the Arc, you can find us on YouTube at Beyond the Arc CBS. Hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell symbol. You'll get notified when we go live. Got a lot of those live post-game shows coming up as we enter the playoffs. All right, Bill, Weekend Radar, what hit you?
I'm going to start with Milwaukee. Not a huge surprise, losing a couple games in a row. They lost to Atlanta and New York, right, if I remember right, on Friday's game. And I wanted to take your temperature on this. Obviously, they are a currently Lillard-less team.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope it's all going to be okay. I didn't give them much hope before, even when we thought Lillard would be healthy. Is this a sign of things to come, John? Are you giving Milwaukee, if they don't have Damian Lillard for an opening round playoff series, any chance to beat anybody? Even
no, I was barely giving them a chance.
Same.
with him. I mean, he's had a really good season. Kudos to him. He was an all-star again when I thought that he was on the downswing of his career. He's looked fantastic. Even when he's out there with Giannis, I have zero confidence in the Bucks. I would much rather, of those teams that they're grouped in the Eastern Conference, in that 4, 5, 6 grouping, you've got the Pacers, and the Pistons have now passed them. The Pacers are a game and a half, or the Pistons are a game and a half up on them, and the Pacers have really, your Pacers have really put some distance between them and the Bucks. They're 3 games up on the Bucks. I like both of those teams considerably better right now. Bill, they're looking at a 3-6 matchup with the Knicks, and this brings me to my weekend radar. Jalen Brunson told the media that he hopes to return before the playoffs. He's been out since March 6th with an ankle injury that looked really gnarly. They've gone 7-5 without him. They've managed to stay afloat. OG Anunoby has looked awesome. Those two teams face each other in the postseason. Knicks all day. I mean, if the Bucks get a game or two, it'll be great for them.
7-5. I did not know that stat. I mean, that is basically, it's a smaller sample size. It's a third the sample size.
Mm-hmm.
That's the exact same sort of record as the Grizzlies. If without Ja, if Brunson missed 30 games instead of what'll be, 16 or 17 or 18. Wow.
Yeah, they've been, the OG has been out of his brain lately. He's been
so
playing
good.
really well. So like getting Jalen Brunson back is going to be a huge boon for them. So yeah, to your point about the Bucks, I have exactly zero confidence in them. We were talking about, is this the last we've seen of KD in Phoenix? I don't think that the Bucks are going to go into the offseason and immediately look around. Well, they're not going to. It's going to be Giannis at some point deciding, hey, I can't do it here, or we can't do it here. You got to move me on. I don't think it'll happen this offseason, but I think if they're a first round out again, and if they start slowly next season, sooner than later, Giannis is he has to look around and go, yeah,
I think he might
happen here.
I think he might.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just know other people are think it's a real possibility. You're right. And he's been loyal. He's stuck around. He won them a championship. People who have accomplished a lot less and have been lesser players have forced their way out earlier than Giannis might.
Totally. What else hit you from this weekend?
So I'm kind of enjoying this Timberwolves Warriors renaissance, and obviously the Warriors renaissance really kind of goes back to the trade deadline and Jimmy. But and we noted that so on my radar I was just watching which of these teams I thought was going to hold off the other in that final 6 slot. Now Memphis obviously could sink down and could be the team, but Warriors and Timberwolves each won there's I think they each had Friday Sunday games. So just like I didn't want the play-in to be a thing. I thought it was dumb when we went to this. Totally wrong. Yeah, Adam Silver knows what he's doing because it's 6-7 is riveting. I'm riveted by the teams that are 6th and 7th right now in the Western Conference.
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, all of that. Like really after the 1, right? I mean, Oklahoma City is just in cruise control mode because they've already clinched that 1 spot, which is so wild. The third Bill, the Rockets have won 9 of 10.
Your Rockets, yeah, they have.
The Rockets have won 9 of 10. This is on my weekend radar. They're in second place, Bill. They're 13.5 games back of the Thunder. I mean, I know that it's the postseason is a different thing, and we need to see it from Oklahoma City, and SGA has been excellent. But like, that's just incredible. Like what they've done this season is wild. I have friends of mine who love the NBA. Don't watch it as much as you and I do, obviously, because we get paid to watch it. But one of them was texting me like, this has to be the year that Oklahoma City wins it. Right. And I'm cautious like you are, because I want to see it, but still like, it's really hard to look at what they've done this year and not just marvel at it.
They can still win 70 games, right? 9 games left and they're at 62. And they don't need to, and so there may not be a sense of urgency for it. They're amazing.
74. Yeah, they have to win out, but yes.
Yeah, they're amazing. You're right. I was reading a weekend radar your Rockets too, just to give you a hard time. Are you back on they can do it? Conference finals. Are you back?
I realize that I've oscillated back and forth on this thing. I still truly believe that they're absent a closer. Jalen Green's last month has been ridiculous. He's just putting up crazy points. Sam Quinn had a really good piece about because it's NBA silly season after the All-Star break, all kinds of weird stuff happens. Guys get rested, some rookies get more time, some younger guys get more time. Sam's got a really good piece on CBSSports.com right now about who of these late season surges we can believe in. And he mentioned the Chicago Bulls being fun and Kobe White. And
I know I saw that.
One of the things was that like Jalen Green's last month of the season, his points per game have been absolutely outrageous. But my whole point point here is that they still need a consistent closer, right? I mean, they still need a guy late in games that they can look to and go, that's our guy, because their two best players, Şengün and Amin Thompson, can do a lot of things, but I'm not looking to either one of them consistently to go, oh, go get us a bucket right now. They need that guy still.
If they lose in the first round to
Possible.
A sort of Warriors Timberwolves play-in team.
Yeah, Clips.
Yeah. Do you is that enough where you say, whatever it costs, we know he's older, let's get Durant for a year or two and push through? Because I'm not sure how many spots there are that are actually great fits for Kevin Durant. I know Durant's amazing, but he hasn't done anything since he left Golden State. Every time he chooses his team, it hasn't worked. But if maybe the right team chooses him, maybe that's the formula. I think I can be talked into the Rockets from the Rockets' perspective if things go poorly in their first round.
I mean, just in a vacuum, Kevin Durant's a fantastic basketball player. There's no doubt about it. And he would be, I think, a pretty seamless fit there. If I'm the Rockets, though, I think I'm getting to the point where I want somebody who's younger on like
we've switched places on this.
Yeah, on it. Well, I mean, in the short term, there's no doubt he would be a boost, right? I mean, depending on what you have to give up, they've got a bunch of assets. Maybe some of those younger players, marginal players like Atari Eason or Cam Whitmore or whatever. But I think I'm like bigger game, younger hunting. Like maybe I'm holding out and hoping on Giannis, right?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I mean, and that's in the back of my mind, right? Or like you never know who's going to become available. I mean, if the Knicks hadn't gone all in on some of the guys they did, and if Giannis becomes available, right? So you don't know until you know. NBA, I have another weekend. NBA friends don't let, I'm told, NBA friends believe in Kawhi Leonard. So I need you to help me here because
he sat out.
They won, against Cleveland. But whatever. And they played. It was a scrappy game.
They've got a back-to-back, right? Don't they play again tonight? Isn't that why?
I think that's right.
Do we expect? Does he play tonight?
Yes.
Or no, it was a back-to-back.
They've won 10 of their last 12 games that Kawhi has played. Right? He's sort of sitting out here and there. Obviously, their defense is really good. A bunch of those players kind of grew into their roles and leveled up a little bit with Kawhi gone. Harden, I think maybe correctly, said the other day that he doesn't get the respect he deserves. Can you please – and the Clippers have a world where they can get out of the play-in. I mean, can you please talk me out of the rising level of belief for the first time all year that I have in the Clippers? Can you help me here? Because that's on my radar is how much I'm starting to go.
That I was an early adopter on the Clippers just being like a professional basketball team. And like Ty Lue's an awesome coach. They know who they are. They play defense. I think it really comes down to, like, what are you going to get out of Kawhi in the postseason, right? And even if you don't get a ton out of Kawhi or he's not available like he wasn't last year, I mean, Norm Powell has been he had a stretch where he was injured and he's just coming back from that, but he canned like 5 threes last night in Kawhi's absence. Like Norm's been really, they know who they are. If they come out as the 8 seed, they're going to get smacked by Oklahoma City. But what if they somehow end up as the 7 seed? Like I was asking Sam about this last week, and Sam has been like super on the Clippers, even more so. Like I like the Clippers and they've been a fun and entertaining product, but I don't believe that they're better than a lot of those teams in the 2 through 8 grouping. He thinks if it's Rockets Clippers, he's taking the Clips in that series.
Oh, I am. I'm fading the Rockets in almost any series. I'm going to fade the Rockets in almost any series they play.
I think I'd take the Rockets in that series, but in those other ones,
you love the Rockets.
I'd probably take the Rockets against the Wolves as well. But if we're getting into like Warriors territory and north of that, then I'll take any of those other teams.
Oh, I would take the Warriors over the Rockets in a heartbeat. Memphis, I think I probably wouldn't, but that would be trickier for me just based on everything that's happened.
Yeah, because we don't know what's happening with them right now. It's
right.
Yeah, but no, I'd love to talk you out of the Clippers. The easiest way to talk you out of the Clippers is I'll say to you what I say to my buddy Isaac, who used to produce one of my other podcasts back in the day. He's a Clippers fan. He's one of like 7 in Los Angeles who somehow ended up as a Clippers fan and not a Lakers fan. They're the Clippers, right? They always find a way to just be the Clippers, and like that's the biggest impediment to them. Here's something for you that I'm a little that was on my radar. So we're talking about LeBron. Are you a sports card guy?
A sports card, like cards?
Yeah, like trading, collecting.
I got a bunch in my closet. Like I have a Shaquille O'Neal rookie card. Yeah, but I haven't looked at them. I pull them out once a year and look at them. Mostly baseball cards, and then I got some basketball and NFL cards from back in the day.
Well, you might need to go and investigate what you have in your collection because you might be sitting on a fortune. I'm not one of these people. My friends, I have several friends who are super, super into this, and they alerted me to this. LeBron James's rookie card sold for $1.1 million over the weekend. Yeah.
Oh man, I wasn't collecting that. I was working. That
So,
makes
I
me very
mean,
depressed.
evidently this is a rather large sum. I didn't know what to gauge it against, but they were all
1.1
freaking out.
million?
Yeah, and also Caitlin Clark's rookie card went for I believe it was like in the 600,000s. It was the most a woman's card has ever gone for. So congrats on that.
You have
But
to
like,
get them certified now. You have to send them in or something, and then they certify them and they levels. And I just was like, I don't want to do this. I'll put them back
I
in the
had
closet.
back in the day when I was a kid, I had boxes, like, shoe boxes full of baseball cards and stuff, but I got
Right.
out of it. Now it's like a massive industry. I mean, there are shows, podcasts specifically dedicated to this. My friends, as I said, are all adults. They're adults with children, and like they're more into this stuff than their kids are. It's wild.
I wonder if I can do a special episode where I just have an expert come on. I show him my cards, and he tells me if they're worth anything.
I think you should do that. I think that could be a college fund for the kids.
There you go. Or it could be a hamburger that I'm able to purchase, depending on how I did. Yeah.
Anything else on your radar?
I got one more. This
All
is
right,
my
me too.
pet. This is my pet project. Despite losing to the Thunder this weekend,
Mhm.
the Pacers have officially crossed into being a top 10 offense and defense this year.
You love
I
this team.
monitor it every single day. Every single day I monitor it. And they just got there defensively.
I love how in on the Pacers you are. They are solidly the fourth best team in the Eastern Conference. This feels like a role reversal. If we were going to say that somebody was going to be super on the Pacers this year, I definitely would have bet on it being me. But it's you. And I think they're a really good team and they're going to be a tough out. Right now, it would be, man, Pacers Pistons in the first round would be a fun series.
I really want Pacers Bucks because A, I want to watch the Pacers win, and B, if and when Doc Rivers gets up 3-1 and then loses, I want someone to ask him at his press conference. It could be me. Doc, do you feel like you're going to get enough credit for the 3 wins this time around?
He doesn't get enough credit for the 3 wins. People only ever talk about the 4 losses. That would be a fun series. All right, last one. Mine is Kevon Looney. I don't know if you saw this, but they had a blowout win over the Spurs, and Kevon Looney hit a 3, Bill. First 3-pointer that he's made in 4 years. The last time he made a 3 was 2021, and the Warriors, the whole bench basically fell over laughing. Everybody was dying. That just goes to NBA silly season, where all of a sudden you've got guys like Walker Kessler taking 3-pointers and like Kevon Looney out there in a blowout against the Spurs. They're just like jacking up 3s. Sure, why not? But congrats to Kevon Looney on finally making a 3-pointer for the first time in 4 years. All right, team of the night time.
Well, this is easy. Whoever won the game, not the fight, the game between the Pistons and the Timberwolves was going to be my team of the night, because when you brawl and you have 7 people ejected and JV Bickerstaff's getting into it, I mean, that was amazing.
It was
amazing.
I was alerted to it on a push alert, immediately jumped over to look at it, and I reran the tape a bunch. And I don't know, like, did something else happen earlier in the game that, like, was Ron Holland jawing earlier? Because Nas, that looked like a pretty common foul that Holland committed on Nas, and Nas got his back up about it. And then in comes Dante DiVincenzo, who just out of nowhere, 6th time for the Wolves as the team of the night. But it didn't look like to me that it should have escalated into we're tossing out 6 people.
To quote Anchorman, that escalated very quickly. Yeah, it really did.
Aaron said it was chippy for 3 or 4 possessions before that, but yeah, it just seemed like a gross overreaction by everybody, but was entertaining. Bill, my team of the night, this team is incompetent. They are on the longest losing streak in the NBA right now. They have lost 8 in a row, and man, finally they're doing something right. My team of the night, the Philadelphia 76ers, they lost to the Raptors last night, Bill. They are now 5 games worse than the Toronto Raptors in the standings. They have somehow put this tank into full go mode. They are 1 game worse than the Nets as well, which means if the season ended right now, they would have the fifth worst record in the NBA, which would give them a 64% chance to keep their top 6 protected pick that's owed to Oklahoma City. Bill, nothing has gone right for them, but finally they are turning the fact that nothing has gone right for them into a positive.
It's a huge loss. This is the equivalent on the other end. It's a successful.
With 8 games to play, it was huge.
This is the equivalent of the Thunder beating the Cavs in a nationally televised game, right? Where everyone's like, "Oh, how do we measure these?" Way to go, Philly! Way to not just lose, but lose to Toronto. That's hard to do.
Really learn how to lose. This is muscle memory kicking in. This franchise, was discussing this with Sam last week because we did a whole tank thing. I didn't want to put you through that, but we did like a whole segment of the show on Tank Wars, and
Did you really?
was. Oh yeah. There was
You
for a
love
long time. I love it.
Good.
Well, this is what I'm saying. So for a long time with Philly, the seasons were inverted. The regular season didn't mean anything. The offseason was the big thing. You get ready for the lottery party and the draft and, free agency and summer league and all that stuff, right? And there was like an enjoyment to that. There was a level of entertainment to that because there weren't any stakes in having to win or lose. And now, since the Sixers have gotten Joel Embiid and then they drafted Ben Simmons, that didn't work out, but still they had designs on being a good team and they haven't gotten out of the second round. And this year, same deal. There were all these expectations for the Sixers and that sucked. They were bad. They didn't play well. They were injured. Everybody was miserable. Now they're just getting back to basics, losing games to keep a draft pick. That's something I understand, Bill.
Love where your head's at. Welcome to your sad, comfortable space.
It's my sad, comfortable space. That's right. All right. That's going to do it for us. That's a good way to close the show. That's going to do it for us today. We're going to be back at it tomorrow live on YouTube at 12 p.m. Eastern. Come and join us. You can find us at Beyond the Arc CBS. But for now, for our NBA insider, Bill Ryder, I'm John Gonzalez. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you tomorrow.